All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another RDU Buzz podcast where we go over all things real estate, recreation, restaurants in the Raleigh and Durham area. I hope y'all have had a good week so far. If you are joining us live, make sure to put in the comments where you are joining from. And one, it's just interesting to see where folks are joining from. But two, it really does help us put together content on a weekly basis for these. And I know I mentioned live. Obviously, this is still pre-recorded. And just a little note on that. Obviously, we used to do these live, and the goal is to get back to that. And kind of what we're thinking is hopefully being able to jump back to doing these live in the near future. And probably when we do, instead of doing these on a weekly basis, we'll be doing these every other week. As a result of that, but they'll be live instead of pre-recorded. So I actually enjoy doing them live instead of pre-recorded. It's kind of weird filming these pre-recorded, but anyway, so that's just kind of a little bit inside of what we're thinking with that. But as far as tonight, we've got a handful of local stories that we'll cover and some real estate news that we'll end it with as well. We're going to start with some economic stuff. So there was a report released looking at different metros in the country that have some of the largest pipelines of industrial real estate projects going on in Raleigh. And when it says Raleigh, I think it's really referring to like the Raleigh-Durham metro. So both of like that would really be the Raleigh-Cary metro and the Durham-Chapel Hill metro, but they're just classified as Raleigh. But Raleigh performed really well on that study. So we're going to look at that. And then also kind of talking from an economic standpoint, we're going to look at some medical stuff going on with Wake Med and some of their projections for the future as well. And then we'll move on to some other stories. But this industrial story, let me pull it up real quick so y'all can follow along with me. But it's really fascinating. So what they mean by industrial projects are things like manufacturing projects, projects revolving around logistics, so things like warehouses. I don't think this is referring to all forms of commercial real estate projects, but those just within the industrial realm. But Raleigh performs really well in this. So this is measuring. I think this is measuring the essentially like the square footage of what is coming. But when you look at, I mean, Savannah kind of shocked me. Honestly, I would have never expected Savannah to be in the top, but they are a port city, so maybe some of these projects are revolving around the port in Savannah. What did not surprise me is you have 5 major metros in Texas that are in the top 5. You have Dallas, you have Austin, you have Houston. That did not surprise me whatsoever. I would have expected that. But Raleigh was number 12 on the list. So we were just behind Detroit and Atlanta, not far behind Atlanta at all. Which I think is obviously a good thing. And this just shows, I mean, report after report after report talks about the health of the economy in our region. And this just kind of furthers that point. Our economy in general, I think, is very diverse, whether you're talking about the industrial scene or whether you're talking about the healthcare scene, which we're going to get into in a second. There's just lots of sectors of our economy that are really firing on all cylinders and performing really well. And so, these reports continue to further that point that we really are fortunate to live in an area, or if you don't live in this area and you're looking to move to this area, like this is a great area to live in because of, I mean, for many reasons, but one of those reasons is just a really healthy, robust, diverse economy. So anyway, I thought this was fascinating. I'm obviously not a commercial real estate guy, so my expertise is definitely not in this realm. But it is good to see that the Raleigh area is performing pretty well compared to other cities. Honestly, other cities that are much larger than our region, and we're still performing well. Even being compared to areas much larger. So, kind of along that same token of economic development, Wake Med which is a large medical institution in our region. So really the three main ones, right? You've got Duke, you've got UNC, which is Rex is now part of the UNC system, and then you have Wake Med. So those are your three main medical institutions in our region. And Wake Med put out a report basically, and they said, this is like 10, 15 years worth of planning here. This is like, in their words, a 50,000 foot view. But their goal is to basically build a new patient tower. And again, it's very early in the process. So there's really no look at, how many beds they would be adding within this tower. It seems like it'd be less of an expansion and more of a renovation and kind of modernization of their facilities currently. But when you're in an area that has places like Duke and UNC and some of that, healthcare that kind of, pushes the boundaries of what's capable within the medical world. And you're, like you got to keep up with those places. And that's probably what's happening with Wake Med. But I think this is fascinating, not just in and of itself. It's a good thing, but when you look at what Wake Med is planning for the future, modernizing their healthcare, when you look at the joint venture between Duke and UNC to build a children's hospital, when you look at that new rehabilitation center that's now in Apex, it's also a joint venture. I think that was a joint venture between Wake Med and UNC. I could be wrong. I can't remember. But anyway, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. You can go watch a video on it. But you look at all these medical developments going on in the area, the children's hospital being without question the most substantial one. Like it's a really big deal. It's great for the economy and it's great for the region because it means you have better healthcare options. It's nice to live in an area where you have three very high quality healthcare options, and that's what our area provides. And so we're really just really fortunate at the end of the day to live in an area that does that. So anyway, but these two stories, you got the healthcare side, you got the industrial real estate side, just really go to show how good and solid of an economy we have in our region. So all right, moving on from some of the economic news, moving to Cary. So Cary, it looks like, might be annexing roughly, 200 acres of Chatham County, 153 acres out of Chatham County. And the rezoning would essentially allow up for a little over 200 single-family homes on larger lots. When I was reading the article put out by the Triangle Business Journal, it looked like the lots would be roughly a quarter of an acre. But the big news in this in general is that Cary is almost out of land, right? And so in order for Cary to build new developments, they have to annex some of the land in the surrounding areas. And so they would be annexing Chatham County's land into the town of Cary. And this is, let me pull up a map here. Let me zoom out, and then I'm going to share my screen as soon as I zoom out. All right. So this would be on the western side of Cary. If I can zoom in, here we go. There we go. All right. So just kind of orient y'all I know like on the screen, it's not very big, but Amberley, Cary Park. So these are the two neighborhoods kind of on that western side of Cary. So the land they would be annexing, you got Jordan Lake here. That's what that water source is. The land they're annexing is roughly within this region here. But yeah, so Cary in general is, like it's full. And so in order to build new developments in Cary, there has to be the annexing of land. And that's what it looks like. It looks like is a potential to happen. So obviously it's still got to go through the process of doing that. But I did find it interesting just because of how challenging it is to find land in Cary, and really just how we tell folks all the time about new construction, and it sounds like these homes, if they're on larger lots, they're going to be more expensive homes anyway. So, but it's tough to find new construction in Cary. It's just a challenge. And so, it is nice from the standpoint of, if this land is annexed into Cary and they do develop it, build homes on it, you will have some new construction options within Cary. Obviously, these are going to be high price points with it being larger lots, but it does give folks who have that budget an opportunity to get into Cary with new construction, which is just a really challenging thing to do at this at this time. So I think that's a pretty good thing. All right, so so we've talked a lot about reassessments going on in the area. We spent a decent amount of time looking at the Durham reassessment, the Orange County reassessment. Wake County just made a major move. Obviously, Wake County went through their reassessment last year, 2024, and saw massive property value jumps from 2020 to 2024, obviously with the COVID pandemic, housing market boom that we saw over those 4-year period. But Wake County voted. So before I say this, I'll back up and explain what's required, and then we kind of get into to what Wake County is going to do. So state law requires the reassessment of properties, revaluation of properties every 8 years. Most counties in our region, I don't know what they do in other counties throughout the state of North Carolina. Most counties in our area do this every 4 years. So Wake County went through it last year. Before that, it had been 2020. Durham and Orange County are going through it this year. Prior to that, it was 2021. Wake County is going to become the first county in the state to go from 4 years to 2 years. So every 2 years, starting in 2027, Wake County is going to go through the reevaluation process where your properties are going to be reevaluated, reassessed, and then obviously your tax bill will change as a result of that. Their justification in doing this, and let me know if you live in Wake County, let me know your thoughts on this. Their justification of this is, one, to bring new construction online sooner, to kind of help the new construction side foot more of the tax bill than they do currently. But their second justification of doing this is to reduce sticker shock. So the theory is, obviously, if you're doing this every 2 years, it's going to be less of a jump than if you did this every 4 years. But obviously, if you're the one paying the taxes, your thought is, well, now my value goes up every 2 years. So I'm paying more taxes sooner than I would have otherwise. And so, it's a tough position. But anyway, I would love to know. I don't live in Wake County. I'd love to know your thoughts on folks who do live in Wake County, what you think about it. The sticker shock side of it, I don't think we're going to be going through, and we'll kind of get to this at the end of this podcast. But I don't think we're going to be going through the years 2020 to 2024, like those type of appreciation years anytime soon. Maybe ever, right? Like that real estate market was so unique. Mortgage rates were so low. I just don't know if we'll see that again in our lifetime. I don't think anyone should want to see that again, to be honest, with what it's done to home prices and how quickly it did that to home prices. But I think so. The sticker shock element, like, I do think we're entering a time where your home in general is going to appreciate at a much slower clip than a lot of folks have gotten used to over the last half decade. And that's going to take some readjustment and getting used to, because I think a lot of folks are used to buying a home and then 2 years later it's appreciated so much that you can easily sell it and make a ton of profit off of that sale. And I just think we're moving into a world where that's not going to necessarily be the case. I think we're already there, to be honest. But So I don't know if the sticker shock aspect is as big of a deal as they're making it out to be. Those are just some initial thoughts. But anyway, regardless, the big news is instead of every 4 years, it's going to be every 2 years. This is starting in 2027. And then once your property values are reevaluated in 2027, it's going to happen again in 2029. So anyway, would love to know your thoughts. If you are in Wake County, drop your thoughts below. That's it's the new normal. That's what Wake County is going to do. So, and another thing before we move on to the next topic that'll be interesting to see is if the other counties in the region follow suit, right? If Durham County, Orange County, Chatham County, Johnston County, and these other counties follow suit with what Wake County is doing. That's going to be interesting to see as well. All right. Last local story before we move into some housing related things. And I just mentioned Chatham County, and this is specific to the Chatham County area. So in Pittsboro, they just opened up a new YMCA. I think it's the first YMCA built. The story's being really slow to load here. But I think it's the first one since 2009. Whenever it pops up, I'll confirm that. But I know I said Pittsboro specifically. It's in Chatham Park. 2019. It did pop up. 2019 was the last YMCA that opened. But this one looks really cool. So it's 36,000 square feet. Again, this is in Chatham Park. This is a neighborhood that we talk about a lot, and how that neighborhood is going to transform the Pittsboro area over the next 20 years. It is almost 25 acres. Has 2 outdoor pools, one that's heated and can be used year round. It's got a fitness area, studio, classrooms, and a kids play area. But anyway, I think that's really cool. I grew up going to my local YMCA when I was a kid, and they had a swimming pool there and like some basketball courts. I just remember going there, and it was just, I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I don't think I've been to an YMCA since I was a kid. But anyway, that's just kind of where my thought goes with this. Like all the kids in that neighborhood that are going to grow up going to that facility. I don't know, it's really cool. So, but that area in general, Pittsboro, Chatham Park, going to explode over the next 2 decades. And it's good to see them adding things like this YMCA, because they're going to be desperately needed as it grows. So, all right, moving into some housing market things. First, we're going to talk a little bit about, let me pull up these stories so I can share it with y'all. I'm going to try to close out some of these tabs, so my computer kind of speeds up a little bit. So, all right, first we're going to talk about the Zillow. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Zillow market heat index. So this is looking at the hottest markets in the country. And the market right now in our area is really hot. I'm telling y'all right now, homes are going fast. It's really, so it's a tale. It's what I would call a tale of two markets, right? If you've got a house that doesn't need a lot of work done on it, right? So cosmetically, it looks good. It has a decent amount of updates. It doesn't have to be like perfectly updated, but it's got a decent amount of updates. It's priced right. It's in a good area. I mean, it's going to fly, right? Like you're going to get probably multiple offers, or at least one really good offer pretty quickly. That's just what we're seeing right now. We're seeing lots of competition in the market. And to be very clear, this is what we saw last year. And then starting around May, early to mid-May, like that was, it was one of those moments in May of last year when you would see a home and it's like Tuesday, and the home was listed on like a Thursday or a Friday, and it's beautiful, right? It's a beautiful home in a great area. It's priced well. And it's still in the market on Tuesday. And it's like, how did that happen? That is like basically what would happen in May. And so you start to see like these very early signs of, okay, the market is beginning, like looks like it's beginning to shift some. But the first half of last year was really hot. Second half of last year, not so much. I think that's in general what we're going to see this year. But anyway, back to Zillow's market heat index. Let me click on it real quick, and then y'all can kind of follow along with me. So basically, these are looking at the hottest markets. So you can kind of see here, neutral market, 44 to 55, sellers market, 55 to 69. And then strong sellers market 70 or above. So when you look at our area, using those same metrics, I know this is really small, so let me zoom in here. So Raleigh is a 59, so we're a seller's market in Raleigh, and Durham is a 56, so it is also a seller's market. Charlotte is 53, it falls within what he defined, he being Lance Lambert within this art, or Zillow within this article, as being a neutral market. So when you look at North Carolina, you have Jacksonville that is a seller's market, but really like our metro is kind of the only one right now that's experiencing a seller's market. And we feel it. I mean, on the ground right now, like it is very, very, very competitive right now. All that to say, the forecast for this year is not really super positive. Even though the market is hot right now, and these studies show that it's pretty hot right now, it's not really the forecast for the year continue to downgrade. So Zillow, which we talked a couple weeks ago about them, they were projecting, I think, a little over 2% appreciation year over year this year. That decreased a couple weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago, to 0.9%. They downgraded that again to 0.6%. So Zillow keeps coming down on what they think the year is going to look like. Which I think, in my mind, again, this reinforces where I think the market is headed, and where I've said that I think that it's headed, and that is a really hot start to the year and a very slow end to the year. That's what we experienced last year, and I don't think there's any reason to think that we're going to experience anything differently this year. So with those downgraded forecasts, let's look at their projections for our area. Again, this is Zillow data here. Zoom in a little bit. So Raleigh, they're projected. Sorry, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Let me zoom out just a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, so Raleigh, this is Zillow again, year over year, what they're projecting for the entirety of this year is projecting the Raleigh area to be 1.2% and the Durham area to see 1.7% growth. What's fascinating, though, I think when we first talked about Zillow's study, I want to say it was either December or January, for their projections of this year. And I want to say Durham was like 4-something%. And I think Raleigh was right there at the same. So obviously they've downgraded our area significantly too. So again, I think what we're seeing right now, because obviously Zillow is saying, hey, this is a very hot market right now, but hey, the appreciation that we're going to see this year, the price growth that we're going to see this year is not that much. I think what we're seeing is just very similarly to what we saw last year. Very hot spring that's going to slow down, and it's going to rapidly slow down. And then we'll move into a much slower fall season, late summer, fall season. So other things that have gotten downgraded, I don't have articles on those, but other things that have gotten downgraded. One is how many homes are expected to sell this year. So the National Association of Realtors is expecting a very modest increase from last year. I think last year was 3.9 million resales essentially. And this year they're projecting like right around 4.1. So not a huge increase based on what we saw last year. And last year, by the way, was the lowest number of home sales in 3 decades nationwide, which is crazy. So it was one of the slowest moving real estate markets we've seen literally in decades. On a national level, locally, it was a little different. We weren't quite that bad locally, but it was still, for our market, a really slow moving market. So again, I think all this just kind of points to, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a very quick moving spring. It is a very quick moving spring. And then it's going to be, I think, a slow late summer, fall, kind of like what we experienced last year. What drives this at the end of the day is going to be mortgage rates. So mortgage rates have come down. It wasn't that long ago when rates were, like a month ago, they were 7, a little bit above 7, a little bit over a month ago, they were right around 7.1. Now they've been around like 6.7, 6.8 lately, which is good. So we've seen those come down a little bit. But again, the projections are, I think by the end of this year, we're kind of like at, 6.5 basically. So not much of a change of where we are now. And then by the end of next year, 2026, around 6.3. So not a big change from where we are today either. So just kind of this like very gradual decline in mortgage rates. So, yeah, so that's a little bit on the market side of things, a little bit on the area news update side of things. But I do appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. We'll definitely keep y'all posted on when we plan to do these live, but hopefully in the next several months, we'll be doing that again. If you haven't already, make sure to put in the comments where you are joining from. Again, it's just helpful to know as we prepare this content for y'all. But I do appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see y'all next week. All right. Bye, y'all.